Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Family Law Show. I'm your host, as always, Enrique Figueroa. And joining me today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Laura Copp, attorney and founder of the law office of Laura E. Copp in Amarillo, Texas. Laura is a member of the DUI Defense Lawyers Association and the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. Laura, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on here with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You primarily started in all those things I said. It's all criminal defense based, but we are on the Family Law Show. So I think everyone's kind of wondering, are we shifting the format here? But you actually do a lot of family law now, don't you?
I do. I did a little bit before kind of all of this nonsense started, but now people are trapped at home with each other and they kind of realize, I don't really like that person very much. So I need a divorce, I need out. And so there's been a ton of that here in Amarillo and kind of the surrounding areas where I practice. And so since I had a background in it and I had done a lot of work with family law attorneys while I was in law school, I decided to up my family law practice and start focusing a little more on that, especially since the criminal cases aren't really moving right now.
So when you were kind of making your bones, did you get most of your experience working with family law firms, or was it just kind of an equal mix between a few different practices of law?
So when I was in law school, my mom kind of convinced me to go, and then my mom's like, hey, you can do whatever you want, but we're definitely going to disown you if you decide you want to do criminal defense, because that's gross. We don't care for that. They're like a real pro law enforcement family. Close family friend was the prosecutor out in Wise County and Young County, all of those places for many, many years. And now he's the judge. And he was kind of the one that was like, oh, maybe you should go to law school. And so she was like, don't be a defense attorney. You're never welcome at home again if you do that. And so I just kind of focused on family law when I was in law school. And then I got out, I graduated with honors, and I was like, oh, it's going to be really easy to find a job. And it was not.
So, Laura, you mentioned that your family would, quote unquote, disown you if you became a criminal defense lawyer. But the part actually that I was more interested in is they wanted to convince you to go to law school. So what was, as a little girl, you probably didn't want to be a lawyer, but it sounded like you needed a little bit of coaxing to go to law school. So what was actually at first your chosen path?
So I was actually getting a degree in history at the time. I focused in Chinese history and I was going to go be a history teacher. I was decidedly bad at being a middle school history teacher and I was like, oh, this isn't the path for me. But now I have a history degree. What do I do with that other than go get more degrees? And I was actually looking at, going and getting a master's, getting a PhD, and then just teaching college. My mom's like, oh, Judge Bristow was like, hey, go to law school. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to law school now. And then I went and, I did the LSAT prep, took the LSAT, applied to a bunch of schools, and then finally settled on going down to San Antonio to St. Mary's.
Now, would you say you had a particular mentor when it comes to becoming a lawyer? Someone kind of helped you learn the lay of the land a little bit and helped you kind of forge your own path?
Not really. I did get very fortunate with my first job, though. I was the assistant public defender up in Moore County, which is about an hour north of Amarillo. And Jared, my boss, he really let me do what I thought was best. He was there in case I didn't know or if I was messing something up. But he let me sort of, guide my own cases, make my own decisions on what to do with the cases. He wasn't there just saying, oh, you need to do it this way. You need to do it the way that I would do it. And so that really helped with being able to open the office myself so early instead of waiting, years to open an office, because even with my first job right out of law school, I was really guiding my own caseload.
What was kind of the moment? When did you feel like this is the time? Now I'm going to make the jump and do this on my own and form my own firm?
It actually was about 2 months before I did it. I had been looking at staying at the office I was at for a long time, staying in the town that I was at, basically, for good. I had started kind of looking at houses like, hey, I think I am just going to live here forever. And this is what I'm going to do. And it was like a little before Halloween in 2018. I was like, I could just open my own firm and move to Amarillo, be in a slightly bigger city, kind of do a little bit more of what I want to do, because I'm still handling someone else's cases. I'm the one doing all of the cases, but it's not my office. It's not my name on it. And so I was like, I can do this. So I talked with my mom and my dad, and they, despite having threatened to previously disown me, were very helpful in getting all of this set up, and any kind of monies that needed to come that I didn't have, they were very willing to help me out with, so I could set out on my own in the big city of Amarillo and open my own office.
So when you first started out, was it 100% criminal defense based? Like you just did criminal defense?
That was what I wanted to do. And I came down. I opened up on the 1st of January of 2019. So by the time this comes out, 2 years ago, I guess, I was like, I'm only going to take criminal cases. That's what I know how to do very well. Like I, have, a lot of court experience with that. I've been in front of the Court of Appeals. I've done trials. Like I know what I'm doing with criminal defense, and that's what I'm going to do. And then kind of found out that when you're on your own, you can't really be that picky. You can't, if someone comes in and they're not maybe your favorite person in the world, you can't just be like, I'm not going to work with you. You really got to have like a good reason to do that. And if you know how to do something, you need to be doing it. So I knew how to do family law. I knew how to do the probate, the estate planning, that kind of stuff. So like, I can't just not be doing that stuff, because that's not how you run a business by yourself. That's not how you get a law firm going when you're on your own.
Now, kind of fast forward a little bit here. You started at the beginning of 2019, you said. So, I mean, in our minds here, watching this and me listening to this, that's kind of got to put a crazy bell off in someone's heads. Like, that's actually impressive that you're thriving and doing well, considering the climate, brand new firm, and within a year of being open, we just get hit with this pandemic. Mm-hmm. Now, I can only imagine that because of that, you have to be very fluid in your approach and what you're doing. So kind of what was going through your head when all these things started changing and you had all this wealth of knowledge in all these different areas of law? Did your focus change a bit? Did your advertising strategy change a bit? When did you kind of decide, or was the decision made for you that times are changing, I have to change with them, and my practice is now, I'm focusing on just about everything, but I'm also going to start giving a little more focus to, say, family law?
I didn't actually change the advertising strategy that much. Like, I've put a little more focus on family law, not a ton. The advertising is still more heavily focused on the criminal, but I have been very fortunate to make good relationships in Amarillo. There are a lot of attorneys here, and there's actually a lot of lady attorneys here. And the ones that I've made friends with, if somebody comes in and they don't think they have time to handle it, or they don't want to handle it, they are recommending that those people call me. And so I'm getting a lot of family law clients that way. With the criminal cases, with those cases not moving, that's not as much of an issue, because nobody's necessarily on I got a hearing in like a week, and if I don't show up with an attorney, I'm going to prison. So there's not that rush there. But with family law, people are wanting divorces, or they've been served with a divorce, someone's trying to take their kids. There is more of that rush. And so if somebody can't get them in right away, they're saying, call Laura. And then those people are calling me, and I'm able to get them in pretty quickly because I do evening appointments and I also do weekend appointments. So if someone calls and they're like, I work 80 hours a week, the only day I can meet you is a Sunday, then I come up here on Sunday and meet them. The office is technically open on Saturdays as well. I may not always be sitting up here, but I put online that it's open, because then people are less nervous about calling if they do see me online. I've also I'll look around on Google, when I'm trying to find other attorney's number. If it's somebody that I don't know as well and don't have their number saved, I'll be like, okay, well, what's their phone number? I've started to notice that under the family law attorneys, they have a little other people have called these people, and my name is popping up on those as well.
Now, the approach for criminal and family law, I can only imagine has to be a lot different. Do you feel like you almost have to like wear two different capes or like different masks and just shift between the two nonstop?
Pretty much. Before we started recording, I was trying to work on both things at one time because the paperwork's different, the attorneys you deal with are different. There's different issues. Like with a criminal case, I'm not having to call another attorney and be like, can you tell your client to stop calling my client at 2 a.m? With criminal, it's, you call the DA and you're like, hey, like I want a trial or I need this document, file motions to get rid of stuff. But it's not just the constant barrage, I guess is the right word, the constant barrage of things happening with family law. Somebody dropped the kids off late, or somebody's calling at 2 a.m. when they're not supposed to, or any number of like weird things are happening that I have to figure out how to resolve to keep the client happy.
Now, in working in those situations, is it something you have to work toward to get your clients to really trust you 100%? Like, is it like to get them to this place where almost you're equally vulnerable to one another, where you're like, look, I can do these things, but I can't do these things. I need you to be honest with me about this. I need to know about this. That coming together and creating that kind of unity to get the best result. Is that something you find difficult to work at, or clients hesitant, like they put the walls up, or is it something that comes pretty easily?
It's different with every client with that as well. Some people are, they come in, they're ready to go, all in with me, and, we have a great relationship from the start. There's other people, sometimes the ones that get served that don't want to be getting a divorce, will have issues. Or if it's a case where like I am semi-regularly having to give them bad news, then that does make the relationship a little bit harder, because sometimes you're going to get a client who comes in with very, very lofty expectations, and I never go into a consultation like, yeah, we're going to get everything you want, I'm going to get you this and I'm going to get you this, but we're going to have to look at what the assets are, we're going to have to see what each particular situation is, because there are law firms that are just like, they're going to go in, they're going to promise you the moon on a string. And that's not how I operate. I don't think that's fair to myself or to the client. But there are going to be those people that do come in with very, very lofty expectations, and it's just not going to be possible. Or they're going to come in, they're going to tell me one thing, and then the reality turns out to be something very different. So I have to come back and be like, you said you wanted this, and I said we were going to try for it, but you're not entitled to that, or we're not going to get that. Or if we try and do this, which we can, we'll probably win on that matter, but your ex is going to come in and say this, and you're going to mess things up for yourself by letting him do that. And it's like, I know you feel like you're being extorted or you're not getting what you want, but it's my job to protect your interests, and your interests are, maybe we give up on this small matter so this other thing doesn't happen.
So would you say it's a lot of managing expectations, and then even beyond that? I know it's a hard question to ask or even to answer most likely, but to be honest with someone from the get-go, if you know that they have this idea in their head that I have a winning hand, and you have to come at them and say, look, it's not as strong as you think, and we have to prepare for this possibility, which isn't going to be what you want, but it's the right path for these reasons.
It is. And if your clients at least have expectations that are reasonable, then it makes the case a lot smoother, because everybody comes in thinking, I have the perfect case, I'm going to win $10 million from my spouse who's worth like $500, and I'm going to get the kids and the house and like everything. And so you got to kind of manage that, be like, well, you're entitled to this, and even though maybe he stole $10,000 for you, he's got $20 in the bank account, you're not seeing that $10,000. So we may get it ordered, but this is what the reality of the situation is.
Now, the idea of intake, or where do we start in terms of where the call begins? Do you have a team around you that are specialists in terms of intake, or is it something that you and the other attorneys at the firm handle? That call comes in, the attorney picks it up. Or is it something where you have more of a streamlined approach to it?
It's just me. With everything that's happening in the world right now, I wasn't able to hire somebody this year to kind of take over those sorts of things like I had wanted to. So all calls go directly to my cell phone. Any emails go directly to my cell phone. So every time someone calls, if it doesn't go to my voicemail, it's going directly to me. So if somebody's calling, at 2 a.m, it's going to me at my house. I don't have a service right now to have somebody else handle the intake. And even once I kind of start being able to do that, I'm probably going to keep it very similar to that. I may make it so, you're not always directly going to me. So if I've got something going on, it'll go to an answering service, or if I'm in court, it'll go to a receptionist or a paralegal or something like that. But I'm still planning on, as much as possible, making sure that I am the person that is on the other end of that phone.
I mean, I'll be honest, that sounds really, really, really cumbersome to 24/7. I mean, my goodness, you've got to really love doing that, to do that.
I have found that if I'm the person answering the phone, that it's more likely that person is going to hire me, or at least make a consultation to come in and talk with me. There've been a few times when I have, transferred the calls to somebody else to pick up because I'm in like an 8-hour hearing, or like I've gone out of town for a short period. And like during those times, like I know I'm getting calls, but I'm not getting hired. So, I get the phone call sent to my email. And so I'll be like, okay, well, like 8 people called me in these 3 days that I did pick up the phone, and not a one of them made an appointment, or not a one of them hired me. And so I just find that I have a better, I guess, higher ratio if they call and they get the attorney.
So that level of commitment, dedication, that kind of work ethic, does that come from the parents? Like what's their background?
My mother was a nurse up until a couple years after I was born, and then she was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad was Special Forces in the Army for a few years until he met my mom after a parachuting accident, and then retired forcibly. And then they had me, and so it always kind of grew up that way. I was expected to do things. Things were expected to be done. And so it just always kind of stayed that way, I guess.
You've achieved so much already before the age of 30. What kind of wisdom or what kind of pearls would you bestow on young attorneys just getting started now?
I don't know.
What do you wish someone told you?
Law school doesn't really teach you anything. And so, like, I wish somebody had told me that before I was an attorney, to like really focus on getting those internships, or for doing like clinics if your school offers it. Because if you just do school, like, you're not going to know anything. Like, you're going to know how to read cases, which is something I went into law school knowing how to do anyway. So I was like, okay, well, like now I understand like kind of vaguely where to look, but like, if this happens, like what motion do I file? Like, what do I do in court? What are the objections? Like I got out and I started my job in Dumas the week after I took the bar. And so I had like a period of time when I wasn't a licensed attorney, but I had like, they do like a student attorney thing in Texas. I don't know if every state does it, but you can sign your license on to like an actual attorney's license. So if you're with that person, you can do law. But they have to supervise you, and they have to be in the courtroom staring at you if you're in court. And so I had that period where like everything I did had to be looked at, and I had to just constantly have eyes on me. And so I was able to kind of learn those things that I needed to do. But like law school didn't teach me how to be an attorney. And so like just the best advice would be to find an attorney to teach you how to be one before you decide to go be an attorney.
See, there you go. You answered the question. You didn't know what to say, and that's a fantastic response. And I have not heard that yet.
Really?
The law school doesn't teach you anything, so I appreciate that. That's really great insight. But Laura, I'd like to thank you so much for being on the show today. I think we had a great time. I learned a lot. I think our audience learned a lot. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please make sure to hit subscribe below or visit us at scorpion.co. Until next time, I'm Enrique Figueroa, and thank you for watching The Family Law Show.
Thank you.